Hi, everybody. Greg Jackson with NPS Ranger News. Got a little couple audio glitches you might hear. I'll try and turn them down a bit. Going to talk today with Sarah Davis, the Chief Ranger of Yellowstone National Park, about a winter rescue they had in the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and it was involving a person who was searching for the Finn treasure, named after Forrest Finn, who's an author who claims to have bought an expensive antique box, put some gold in it worth several $1,000,000, and taken it out someplace north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the mountains north of Santa Fe, and hidden it. He wrote a poem about it in a book, and for about 10 years now, people have been searching through the mountains north of Santa Fe for the treasure. And these couple of folks went into Yellowstone National Park and got into big trouble looking for this treasure. And they're not the first person to do this. There are thousands of people looking for this treasure throughout the country, in the mountains north of New Mexico, to the Rocky Mountains. So everywhere from the Canadian border on down south to Mexico, people have gone out, searched, and died looking for this treasure. Let me bring up an article here. There it is. This article from Westward, which is a publication out of Colorado, and they've done a whole series of reporting on this. This gentleman here, depends on how there's definitely 4 fatalities linked to the search for this treasure. And if down in this article, which is online, Westward's a publication that's also available online, and they've been in direct contact with Mr. Finn, who says, I was old when I hid this treasure. It's not in any place dangerous, and it's not any place that he couldn't go when he was, I think, 80 or 75 or something close to that. So people are taking extraordinary risks for a treasure that is in someplace in the mountains north of New Mexico. The poem has things where near warm waters. So, well, there's warm waters in Yellowstone. Well, there's warm waters lots of places in the Rocky Mountains, near the cabin that belonged to, anyway, some Brown, which is not not an uncommon name. So in the national parks, geocaching, when it first came out, was an issue. People would go and hide geocaches everywhere, and people would go out and find geocaches everywhere, and it immediately had to be regulated, so people weren't doing that because they were getting in trouble. But this is like geocaching on steroids, with some very serious lookers that are going in places, in parks from Dinosaur, Tetons, Rocky Mountain National Park. If it's north of New Mexico or north of Santa Fe in the Rocky Mountains, people have gone looking for it. And anyway, Sarah Davis is going to be here with us in moments to discuss this rescue in Yellowstone. So give me a few moments to bring up all the audio. There's Sarah's photo, and let me see if I can turn on Sarah's audio and bring her there. Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Greg. How you doing?
And I can hear you. Great. If anybody out in the audience can't hear Sarah, just send me a note, and it'll pop up, and I'll try and correct that. So Sarah, thanks very much. Sarah Davis has been the Chief Ranger of Yellowstone since December, and can you tell me about this rescue? How long did it take? How many people were involved?
So, of course, I can't talk actively about the actual investigation or much on the Forrest Finn itself, but what I can tell you is about the SAR. So, at about 11 o'clock, and I actually forgot to write the date down of the date of the rescue, we received a call that there was someone climbing down the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone off Lookout Point. And we responded to that area and found someone who was on a rope. Actually, this time I think they were off the rope, and were unable to extricate themselves back out. And so the result was 11 search and rescue members from 2 different areas of the park had to respond. They set up a hauling system, in order to lower one of our climbing rangers down, package our gentleman up. He did not have any injuries, but he was packaged up and brought back up. And so the actual rescue ended at about 8:30 that night. So it's about a 9.5 hour operation involving 11 different people. Some of the things, it was snowing. Temperatures were between 15 and 20 degrees. So it was pretty cold out there.
I imagine, and long, and 11 people. Um, yeah, it's one of the issues with this is not only are people putting themselves at risk, they're also putting rescuers at risk, and they're also involving taxpayer money. Have you guys put together a cost on this operation yet?
I was unable to pull that before the talking with you today, and I apologize on
Oh,
that.
not a
But
problem at all. Well, we
you
can we
can
can
imagine 11 people times 9 hours. That's going to be a significant cost.
imagine. So, they use some, now this area is normally closed, but they're to access, they used it was reported that they, took advantage of some permit, um, process.
Yeah, so normally we have guided snowmobile tours throughout the park, and those are done by concessions, and people have commercial use authorizations in order to do that. But one of the part of our winter use plan is that we do allow up to 4 different non-commercially guided snowmobile groups to come in every day. So that's one at each of our entrance stations. So we have 4 entrance stations open up in the wintertime, the north, south, east, and west, make it pretty easy. And so they are able to, it's a lottery system in order to get the permit, and you can apply online. There's a cost of about $6 to apply online, plus they have to pay $40 per day, plus the entrance fee. And they're actually designated. What their snowmobiles will have a special placard on it, so that we can recognize that they are approved non-commercially guided snowmobiles. Maximum of 5 snowmobiles, but not a maximum number of people, as long as it's safe.
Is there any changes anticipated in this regarding, greater scrutiny or disclaimers, or, is this just they did what a lot of people do, and there's no way of trying to prevent this?
Yeah, I mean, how far should we go? Should we ask people, are you coming in to search for forest treasure?
Or to
No,
plant
I doubt.
treasure for that matter, sure.
Yeah, so I doubt we can do that. We just have to, be careful, make sure people understand that they have to, follow the rules of the park and the regulations. Um, Entering the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone via rappel is illegal. There are some trails open up in the summertime where people can hike the trails down, but you're not allowed to go off trail. So the area that Mr. Christensen accessed, he would not have been able to get there without violating the law under pretty much any circumstance.
How was the rescuer, the ranger that went down on the rope, at the end of this? Were they, uh, in decent shape, decent attitude, or was it a real long day for them?
Well, I think, anybody who has to put in that much time, it's going to be a long day for them. But we spoke with them afterwards, and they were pretty good. It's excellent staff, highly trained, very very professional, and they knew what they were doing, and they made sure it was safe, and followed the principles of operational leadership, and made good decisions. I admittedly had a lot of concern once it started getting dark, that really increases the risk, and when it comes to these types of rescues, but they mitigated and did everything correct. So I was really pleased at how they handled it, and they did a great job.
Yeah, and operational leadership is a risk management uh, principle within the Park Service, where people are empowered to uh, evaluate risks to operations and do something to mitigate them, for those not into not into the nomenclature. Got a couple pictures here of some folks with some tracked vehicles. The park has a significant winter capability as far as changing some of the patrol vehicles and ambulances into tracked vehicles for winter operations. And also just brought up one of all these photos are NPS photos. This is what it looked like from the top going going down steep, and this is what it looks like at night, which is cold and dark and really steep. So a bad place to be in. This is your first winter in Yellowstone. What generally is since you arrived, you were previously at Natchez Trace Parkway. What's your impression of the staff overall there, in the job overall? Did anything give a
I
big impression when you first got there?
Greg, I was immediately impressed by the professionalism of the staff. They're well trained. They know what they're doing. Many of them have been here a long time and know this park unbelievably well. It's huge. It's bigger than Rhode Island and Delaware put together, I think, 2.2 million acres. And the information that the staff has and the institutional knowledge is amazing. I They work really hard to, hone their skills and make sure that they're professional. They wear their uniform with such pride. I just absolutely impressed at every part about it. They've made some big strides in the last few years, improving vehicles and equipment. So it's a great operation, and they do a fantastic job with um, with everything that they have.
I spoke with Superintendent Shawley over the summer, and he was talking about a few issues the park was facing that he was addressing. Um, One was employee housing, and the ability of the effect of housing on retaining employees within your division. What challenges do you look at in the future?
Yeah. So, with as with anything, we have a lot of turnover lately, and so we're going through the process, which a lot of parks have, where you're hiring new folks. They're going to FLETC, so they're out of the park for a while, which limits your resources available. And the thing that I noticed that I think in all parks are dealing with increased visitation and the staffing is, how do we balance? How do we meet that mission of conserving the scenery and the historic objects and the wildlife therein at the same time of providing for the enjoyment of the people? And that's been the hardest thing, I think, for us to do is what are our priorities? Where do we balance this? And my job right now is to figure out what are those priorities so that the staff knows what they're supposed to be doing and where do we want them to focus. One of the ways I hope to do that is by, leveraging technology, looking at our uh, incident reports. What are our calls for service? What types of incidents do we have so that we can focus on where the greatest need is? And then where do we want to focus? Do we want to focus on DUIs? Do we want to focus on thermal violations where people are walking out onto Old Faithful? Where should our focus be? And so, how can we look at that stuff? And then at the same time, also, how can we leverage technology so that the staff can spend more time in the field instead of on their computers in their office? So, those are some of the priorities I have that I hope I can do to help the ranger staff out.
Well, sounds good. I interviewed John Hearn at Natchez Trace Parkway when you were the chief ranger there. I interviewed him last winter, talking about some of the enforcement activities there and the systematic approach to doing that there. So if you can bring what the folks there at Natchez Trace Parkway were doing to Yellowstone and help address those issues, that would just be wonderful. Sarah Davis, thanks so much for being with me today.
Hey, thanks, Greg. It's good talking to you.
Take good care. Thank you.
All right, you too.
All right, I'm now going to mute Sarah's mic here. There we go. So she doesn't well, our mic's muted. How about that? Thanks everybody for viewing today. NPS Ranger News is not affiliated with the government. I'm retired from the National Park Service. Used to be the agency law enforcement administrator, but now I just do this because I like the job. I like park rangers, and I believe they need recognition for their contributions in law enforcement, emergency services, search and rescue, as you see. I'm on Facebook, as you obviously know, Twitter, and on YouTube. This will be archived on YouTube at NPS Ranger News. So thanks, everyone. I will now find a way of shutting this all down. And just thanks so much for watching. Oh, there it went. There it is at NPS Ranger News. Thanks, everybody, and hope to do this again real soon. Try to do podcasts for last winter. This year, I'm going to try and do things with a video component in it, just because I think it's a little bit more interesting, and to have some photos. I obviously can do the sound with it, and hopefully we'll get video issues worked out and be able to have two heads talking instead of just me and some pictures. So anyway, thanks everyone, and hope to talk to you again soon. One more click and it's done. That's the miracle of technology. Bye now.